Hello, I'm with Sitsi Crusher, and
Hello there.
I'm actually a fan of someone called Norman Finkelstein. He does very good scholarly research in Palestine, and he tackles the
He
subject very
does.
well. But he has some very dodgy friends, if we could put it that way. So
With Marriott Bonvoy.
so yes, so he's basically he appears regularly on this channel called Bad Faith with this woman here, and she's a feminist.
Aptly named, by the way.
Yes. And this is about racism. Okay, before we go any further, I think we get this out of the way first. Here is the pyramid of rape culture, right? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And look, this contraceptive sabotage. That's rape. That's a form of rape that women do far more than men, basically. Stealthing, covert
Oh, yeah.
condom removed. That's female projection, right? By the way, it's women who lie about birth control. Okay. Revenge porn. Women actually do revenge porn more than men. Actually, they've criminalised revenge porn, right? So they can get men. But when male politicians have been blackmailed over porn, they punish the male politician, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So flash. So, and here's the pyramid of white supremacy. You hear? You see? It's the same. It's the same. So feminism, intersectional feminism, anti-white racism, which is part of intersectional feminism, and this is anti-white racism because this is actually their version of white supremacy, right? Pyramid of white supremacy. It's never going to disappear, no matter what white people do. They're always going to deem there to be white supremacy, and also these people are never going to admit
Yeah.
that the black community takes more damage from black single mothers than any other group. They're the ones that do the most damage, right? Because there is actually
Yeah.
persecuted communities like the Chinese, the Pakistanis, right, and other groups, Asian groups. They've actually thrived under persecution, right? Okay, so but they just blame shift onto the white people, and like white people have done a lot of racism. They have done a lot of wrong to the black community, right? But these people, they'll attack the most liberal, progressive, supportive white people out there and call them racists because it's nothing to do about
Yeah.
addressing racism. But we'll get more into
Yeah.
that.
Finkelstein himself will never be able to get it done. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like he will always have to defend himself.
yes. So let's watch this.
I don't have a child. Should
No.
I have to pay for the roads? I don't have a car or a driver's license.
That she actually starts off sounding decent here. Yes, that's how politics should work,
Yeah.
right? It shouldn't be just based on stuff that benefits you. So but she's being a social chameleon. That's all.
Should I have to pay for
Yeah.
Section 8 housing? I can pay rent. Should my taxes go to endless wars? I don't give a crap what the Ukrainians are up to. It's none of my business.
There's actually, in that argument, if you go back as far as I do, the fact of the matter is what they teach now in college is
Oh,
what was
just
taught
by
to
the way,
Mhm.
Mr. Pinkenjaw, I have to say, Finkelstein is a perfect example of a guy. He doesn't realize he thinks he's friends with this woman,
Yeah.
and this woman the whole time is his enemy.
Yes.
That's a fact.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
us
Sorry.
in high school. So, and
Men want to be friends with women. They want to be the lovers. They want to be the
Yes.
friends. They want an emotional connection out of physical connection. Men
Yeah.
absolutely adore and love women, and when women accuse men of hating them and misogyny and other men abusing them, men lap it up and believe it, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird.
high school, of course, was free.
Yeah.
When you talk about a free college education, you're not really getting a college education.
A lot of these issues he's going to be talking about is actually due to females, but he doesn't realise it. So let's listen.
Yeah.
You're getting what in a
By the way, I'm not going to do the whole 2 hours. I'm going to do about half an hour of this, just to let you
No.
viewers know.
previous generation was called a high school education. There are, believe it or not, you come from an elite background, in education.
Mm-hmm.
There are many students who enter into college now who've never read a book. I mean that literally. I teach.
If a kid's never read a book, that's bad parenting, by the way, right?
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned. So that's single mothers.
In those schools. I don't fault them. I asked, what did you do in English class? They said, what did we do in English class? The teacher read us books. The teacher read.
Like it's third grade?
Yeah. I mean, you can laugh, but that's literally the
Oh,
case.
by the way, Miss Pink and Yellow,
Yes.
is right about the education system, because I remember uh, there was a time where you weren't allowed to use calculators,
Yes.
and a niece of mine they did everything with calculators, so they didn't get used to adding or doing the basic multiplication in their heads.
Yes.
So it is true.
Yes.
Okay.
Female teachers. I promise you, it's that. It's female teachers, right? Because they don't want to force they don't want to force the kids to do stuff that's hard because they don't want confrontation, right? So they
Yeah.
just let them do it. Like I think there's actually more advanced stuff you can do with mathematics with a calculator that you can't do without. So you should learn to do that, but you have to learn the basics, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You will have many first-year college students who never wrote a paper. They don't know what it means to write a paper.
Well, it's gonna get worse with this chat GPT stuff. Or at least so my boyfriend and an English teacher tells me.
Yeah. So basically, parents don't know how to raise their kids. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's true though. Or single mothers don't anyway.
But it's just honestly,
Like if I was a parent, I'd keep my kids away from PCs for the first 10 years. I'd let them play some video games, but I wouldn't let them get on the internet until they was about 12. I'm not joking.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I argue about a lot of things with people, obviously. Student debt is literally the only issue among all of Bernie's campaign issues that even like starts to a little bit affect me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a guess here. Her boyfriend paid her student debt off.
I'm
And
guessing that too.
every
Yes.
single thing that I've ever fought for is literally not about me. Like, I'm good. You know? I'm good under the status quo.
Yes, I think that's
something good.
that's
Yeah.
the only time
Go
she's been
ahead.
honest. I'm good under the status
Yeah.
quo. I'm good because you're female, right? You're good because
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
yeah. Are you about to say something?
Oh no, I was going to say that. You
Yeah.
caught it. Go ahead.
Okay.
And yet, like the fact that I have even a little bit
I'm going to say something else as well. Okay, this woman's got. She's going to reveal herself to be a feminist. It's obvious, but I'm going to say this here.
Yeah.
Beautiful woman and feminine. She's got long fingernails, got feminine hands, a
Yeah.
feminine face. Right? Nothing masculine about her. There's this trad-con nonsense that feminism has taught women to be more masculine and therefore more aggressive and into man-haters, which is complete fucking nonsense. Man-hatred
bullshit.
is part of feminine nature.
of
It is,
investment
Scott.
in this
Yes.
one thing makes people feel entitled to characterize my politics as self-interested because I can speak from like a position of knowing what it feels like personally
Yeah.
to have six-figure debt as a 25-year-old person
Then you opened your legs, got a boyfriend, and you got it paid off.
and can bring that kind of empathy to the experience that I can't quite frankly bring to, let's say, the universal health care fight. I mean, I can abstract.
Stop there.
Yeah.
She is admitting that she is self-interest. I mean, politics is about self-interest. I mean, you can't get away from that.
Yeah, a lot of it
Yeah.
is to do with self-interest, but a lot of it's not. Like, for example, a person who's not a psychopath doesn't want other people treated badly, right? Because, like,
That's true.
yes,
That's true.
okay. So, like, the Palestinian issue, a lot of people are concerned about it when it doesn't really affect them. To be honest, all right. So a lot of politics is
true,
a lot of politics is not self-interest. Okay, so yeah, but she's posturing a bit here. Okay, and nothing really affects her because she's upper class, upper middle class or whatever. She's well off. Like I said, she's had a good education. She can afford to get into a six-figure debt. Like, she either paid it off herself or she spread her legs and got a boyfriend who paid it off for her.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Or both.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know? But like I've always had healthcare. I've always been able to afford healthcare, even if like I was on expensive Cobra for a year. But it, you know, it still I could technically pay for it. So like it seems to me it's so like it's so diminishing. I find it to be so immoral that I find myself getting really emotionally invested in fights about student debt in the way that I shouldn't. For people to take what should be a point of recognizing empathy from someone who is frankly a class traitor and try to flip that into somehow evidence that the people she's advocating on behalf of.
She's posturing. She's saying she's a class traitor to her class, and she's advocating for the
Yeah.
working class. She's posturing. Yeah, but
Yeah.
have you noticed? She basically says people shouldn't validate me. They shouldn't try and invalidate my political views. They shouldn't cast aspersions on it because I'm fighting these things based on principle, which is much better framing than the average man. Women actually have in a lot of ways do have more emotional intelligence than men. They've got all social intelligence. They seem to be more aware of things socially than men are. Men seem to be in this weird denial mode, right?
Well, but you
Don't
know, they aren't held back
Yeah,
by because they don't care about getting together with men. There's nothing really to hold them back. I
yeah,
think most men's lack of social graces in that regard
yeah,
is because they're so desperate to get together with the opposite sex,
yeah,
no matter what.
yeah.
Yeah.
don't deserve notice. I have limited emotional energy left to not just call people stupid to their face.
And right, I understand how she feels, right? But the thing is, she can call people stupid to their face. We can't.
Yes.
We'll get banned.
I feel like I've been spending the last 5 or 6 years of my life going out of my way, in part because of who I am, to decline from saying you are a fucking moron like 30 times a day.
That's the typical MRA experience, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we deal with subhumans every single fucking day. Like people who ignore basic ethics and principles, right? To shit on men, or they just gaslight and deny stuff, right? Because in that video, you did a video on that girl who did that, females who stole male inventions, right? And I was
Yeah.
actually pointing out in the comment sections, like one of the examples, she actually stole the credit from a man, and people were just gaslighting and pretending not to understand. They're pretending not to understand,
Yeah.
right?
Brianna, I think fucking moron is a perfect segue to the topic today. We're at Kendi.
Oh, by the way, Pink and Nell, just look at how happy Finkelstein is to
Yes,
talk to this woman.
yes,
He's on cloud nine.
yes.
All right, Norman Finkelstein, let's talk about these effing morons. I am so glad to have you back on the podcast. You know, you're one of my all time favorite guests. I
I.e., he's high status.
love having conversations with you because of the intellectual rigor that you bring to the conversations, the introspection, your ability to self reflect and to constantly be challenging yourselves as
And I think she's actually very clever, actually. But you know, a lot of women do the emotional starvation thing with men,
Yeah.
right? And then they never give men anything. She gives men crumbs. She's smart. She's a good manipulator.
Yeah.
yourself as hard as you challenge all of those that you engage with, including myself. And it really feels like you elevate the level of conversation. So thank you so much for joining me again here today.
Well, thank you. You remain, in my opinion, by a wide margin, the best podcaster on the left. There's actually no.
Okay, okay, that's okay,
Yeah.
right? That is some
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
that is some real rimming going
We're
on.
looking right there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. But you take another thing too is that other than her gender, this woman has no cares about the world. She
yeah,
doesn't really care about any other politics.
yes. She's getting
Nothing else affects her.
she's getting social status from doing this. That's the reason she's doing it.
Yeah.
Nobody even.
Like Finkelstein, he's innately interested in the subjects he tackles. You can tell he's got that
Yeah.
he's got that male inner life that females lack, or most of them lack, right?
Yeah.
With an, as we used to call it, hailing distance. You have a solid foundation, and
I know she's not a left podcaster because she's a woman. You can't be left wing and a woman, right? So
Yeah.
oh, you can
They're
be.
all
You know,
conservative.
the only way you could be left wing and a woman is I renounce my female privilege, and you're honest about your female privilege, right?
Yeah.
And women don't do that.
you have a nimble mind. So
I appreciate you saying that, and especially given today's subject matter. For those of you who have not seen the news, when Ibram X. Kendi, who has been a professor at Boston University and the I would say, what do you say, kind of a thought leader in the space of anti-racism and some of the DEI style language that really burst into the mainstream in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Black Lives Matter is a feminist, anti-white racist movement.
Organization.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's anti-white racist because basically you can tell a racist movement. So a racist movement or a bigoted movement like feminism or Zionism or white nationalism or Black Lives Matter, you can tell they're bigoted because they'll always side with a certain demographic. So Black Lives Matter will always side with the black person, right? So if a let's say a black person gets shot by the police, no matter what, they'll side with the black person. So it doesn't matter if he's innocent, didn't do anything, or he was attacking a police officer with a knife or a gun. They'll support the black person, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And one of the first big cases was a half white, half Peruvian person, Zimmerman, getting attacked by a black thug burglar. You by the way, you get called racist for calling him a thug, right? I'll call a white person behaving the same way as him as a thug. By the way, he was a thug. He was a bully thug who mounted people, smashed their faces on the ground, robbing houses, bullying people. And he jumped him and he battered his face onto the ground. And he got a gun pulled out on him, right? Black Lives Matter backed him, and the media backed the thug who was murdered, not murdered, lawfully killed. Okay, and he omitted details from it in the same way as feminists stitch up jobs do in the media. They were omitting details and lying about the case by lies by omission. Zimmerman was defending himself.
With one exception, though,
Yeah.
is if the black thug attacks a woman.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's not black anymore.
No. Weirdly enough, one of the ones they supported. This it's not really relevant because I can't remember the other one. There's the one who got like choked to death by the police with a knee in the back of his neck. He was basically, I think he was murdered, right? But apparently he was a real scumbag. He actually mugged a pregnant woman. Apparently, I think that's true.
Oh.
Right? But it could be a lie to be honest. But it doesn't matter basically. 'Cause true or not, if they were really so obsessed with women, they'd believe it and dump him. But he didn't, so they still supported him. Okay. But
look at Cosby. Cosby's a perfect example where his blackness didn't protect him.
Yes. And he's an older man who had high status and sleeping with women, basically. And he wasn't attractive at all, to be honest. He wouldn't have got to sleep with those women if he had low status.
Yeah.
That makes it particularly creepy. But no, but as I was saying, Black Lives Matter will support the black person no matter what, right? But most of the time when they're causing trouble for the police or causing trouble for innocent bystanders, it's mostly men, so they don't care most of the time. Yeah. Like, is Alexander Brown, not James Brown? There was this big thug who's high on drugs. He was bullying an Indian man in a newsagent and pushing around and robbing him. He got the police called out on him. He's like £280, right? And he charged a police officer. The police officer shot him, right? And so it made him into a victim, basically. So look, if there's a white thug running around terrorizing people and he gets put in the ground, I say good. I don't care. Yeah.
Is in some hot water. Basically, there was an internal investigation at BU that it seems was sparked by some inquiries from journalists about the program that he was put in charge of that was invested with millions of dollars that seemingly have been squandered and have resulted in very, very little in the way of addressing racism or
because it's a feminist, intersectional feminist group that is to steal the money and hijack the issue and make it about them.
Yeah.
Right. That's why the money disappeared. This is
pursuing any of the goals that it was supposed to actually achieve. So, but how about we start by just talking a little bit about what's been going on with Ibram Kendi right off the bat. What are your impressions of the nature of the scandal top level?
If I can just correct you on a number of small points that I myself might be mistaken. I followed it fairly closely, and people have sent me information.
Oh, by the way, he's done this book speaking out against woke recently. Yeah. He took a break from the Palestine issue because he said it was too depressing for him. It was too hopeless. So he's spoken out against woke. So he's got false consciousness about what the actual problem is. He'll never name the real problem. Yeah. It's women, by the way.
This
woke is actually female politics. It's feminist intersexual politics.
Scandal began when between 15 and 20 of the 45 employees of the Center for Anti-Racism at Boston University, they were summarily fired.
That's right.
And at that point, several of the people who were fired, but also those who were already fired, came forward with their scathing criticisms of the mismanagement of the center, the concentration of all power in Ibram X. Kendi's hands, and the misuse of funds, in particular, promises that were made to undertake certain projects that was the contingency for getting the money, those projects never having been
Yeah.
never
Feminist gatekeeper, got a position of power, took the money for themselves. That's what it is, basically.
having been pursued. And then at that point, when the articles started to appear, mostly in right-wing periodicals at the beginning, when the articles started to appear, then Boston University said it will carry on an investigation. So to date, there hasn't been an investigation.
There hasn't been an investigation. This is very common. This is pattern of behaviour with feminists and intersectionalists and anti-white racists, right? All on Zionists, they do this as well. All bigoted groups, when bigoted groups gaining positions of power, they don't hold their own accountable, right? So they'll hyper scrutinise
Yeah.
people they don't like and criticise them and try and get them booted out, but they won't hold their own side accountable and they'll give each other a pass. Like there's that woman on YouTube, she's got a big channel. She stalked a male YouTube creator and turned up at his house. There's a big hoo-ha about it recently, right? I can't remember her name.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay, they don't hold their own side accountable. Like it's just as simple as that. So these anti-white racists, which I'll call them, they're not going to hold their own side accountable because they're intersectional feminists. They're just a branch of feminism. It's the same tactics. It's the same behaviour.
Yes.
They're what I call victim narcissists, or fake victim narcissists, right? Fake victim narcissists, sadists as well, because they want to hurt and dominate and control others. That's who they are.
My own thoughts on the topic are, I think one has to separate out two things. Number one, the administrative aspect of the unfolding scandal. And then there is the intellectual aspect, about which there's been pretty much nothing said. So
he's basically saying the academic side, the intellectual side is a load of shit, basically, and they're only getting in trouble because their con artistry is too blatant. That's what he's basically saying.
There are many criticisms being voiced about Kendi's management of this center. There has been criticism of the fact that there was no financial oversight. Kendi pretty much was taking in not millions, but factually tens of millions of dollars. You hear various estimates between 43 and 55 million.
So a lot of universities, they fund this shit, right? To give money to women or their allies, basically.
Dollars were taken in. It started with Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, who donated $10 million. Then the Rockefeller Foundation came in, and then it started to just pour in. You know the expression, nothing succeeds like success.
And I'm going to say something here. Rich men love giving feminists money, right?
They do. They do all the time.
Yeah.
Money started to pour in. There was apparently no oversight. I have been in correspondence over the past couple of years with some of the people who stepped forward. And they indicated to me that through various ruses and maneuvers, there was no income tax supervision. How they did it, I don't know, but I'm just telling you what I've been informed.
She's got this very weird way of staring at you, like she's like this weird pseudo-romantic way. She's staring at you. I think she's doing it on purpose.
So that's one aspect, and there, we're really at the beginning of the process because I suspect an
by the
audit is
way, one of the things about this hangout, I think there's going to be a lot of people who probably won't listen to a lot of, just because Finkelstein, he takes it too long to say what he wants to say.
I'm fine with it because I'm pretty patient. Like I know the reason why he's very measured on purpose, right? So the way he speaks is to stopping himself from gallivanting ahead of himself and going on to irrelevant points. He's grounding himself, he's clarifying himself, making things as clear as possible. Then he's moving on. It's deliberate, right? Like I said, he was dealing in the field that if he made one little mistake, loads of people would just jump on him. to invalidate him,
Yeah.
right? Like if you read Noam Chomsky's books, okay, it's full of citations. He has to cite absolutely fucking everything he says, Noam Chomsky, and then they'll turn around and go, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's so pedantic. He oversights everything. Why is he doing that?"
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to show that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. They say that they have an endowment still of 17 million, but that would mean about 30 million have disappeared with very little to show for it.
You know what I should do is pretend to be a male feminist ally, pocket some money from an organisation, millions, and just disappear to another country. Never see me again.
Yeah.
But then there's the second aspect, and the second aspect is that Kendi is still being acclaimed as an important scholar, an important thinker. Nobody wants to touch that third rail. And I have to be careful here, not because of fear of libel, but fear of a conversation degenerating. In my opinion, he's just a huckster and a charlatan.
So when he's
There
saying
you go.
when he's saying he's afraid of the conversation degenerating, he means to be jumped on by intersectional feminist allies who are going to attack him, right?
Yes.
So like for example, there's LGBT groups that out there hassling gay men and stalking men in general and bullying them, falsely accusing them of being homophobes, right? And I've actually been banned from online spaces for calling them out, and I've been called a homophobe, basically. So it's like a
Yeah.
shield, right? So you call them out for the behaviour. They don't give a fuck about gay people. They don't give a fuck about the so-called LGBT, right? They just want to be. They're basically fake victim, narcissist, sadists. So they want to be sadistic,
Sadist, yeah.
right? So it's the same with these anti-white racist, intersexual feminists. Okay, right? I'll just call them anti.
Sadism is
I'll call them
most
anti-white.
important
I'll call
part.
them
Yeah.
what I'll do. I'll call them anti-white feminists, anti-white femmes. So these anti-white femmes, right? When he criticises them, they're going to jump on him and falsely accuse him of being a racist. And what happens is,
Yeah.
well, this is the other aspect of it. It's not that they're just making those accusations in a vacuum. What happens is other people will believe it or pretend to believe it and ostracise him. So this game, Dead by Daylight. There's this content creator. I won't go into it too much. This content creator, right? Gay male making content, put the word woke in one of his videos, a spoof video, right? And these LGBT activists contacted behaviour to ostracize him, and it damages his career, right? That's what he. So it's a bit. So what they do, they label you and ostracize you, and it's damaging, especially to men, right? It can be lethal to men socially. Okay. Now he's built up his niche, his status by being counterculture, so he's sort of immune to it, right? He got some immunity to it. Okay.
He has resistance.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no scholarship there. There's just zero. And then
Just like feminism, there's no scholarship in feminism, right? Making up hate-filled venom is not scholarship, right? Okay, so let's say there's a scholarship. I create a scholarship program called City Crushers Sucks, right? And the whole scholarship is about just making up lies about you, about how evil you are, right? That's not scholarship, is it? You know, whatever
No,
comes in my head.
I
Oh
would
yeah,
hope
it
not.
says yes. Oh yeah, City Crusher like puts kittens in a blender or microwave. He's evil. That's not scholarship, is it? That's what feminism actually does. They just make up shit that's on that level, basically.
the question is, and it's a question for, I think, African Americans in particular, but the left in general.
Oh,
And
no.
I know there are a lot. African American studies is a very serious discipline now.
I don't think it is.
Oh, yeah, really?
When
I
it
don't think
started
so.
out in the 1960s,
Yeah.
it was not. This was universities just throwing bones. Women's studies, Latino
Stop right
studies.
here. In other words, he's giving in to her. He's saying, "Oh, it's important now."
Yes.
So he's too afraid to call it out
Yes.
for what it is.
Yes. And he's talking about women's studies but women's studies was the real poison in academia. Women's studies actually
Yeah.
destroyed universities.
These African American studies, they were completely unserious. I know because I took the first courses.
So women's studies has never been serious. No, it's been serious in its attempt to defame men. That's all it's been serious about, right? And
Exactly.
I think a lot of men in positions of power of academia, they gave women into women's studies and just thought it was a joke. They said, let's give these silly women some crumbs, their own
Yeah.
space, because they underestimated them. Then women took it over, right? Like, if you're serious, they'll said, "Fuck off with that nonsense. Get out of university. You're expelled."
I was the only white fellow who, in my freshman year in college, I was determined to break out of my parochial Jewish ghetto growing up.
Oh, by the way, this is important. He basically is admitting he had to take this shit spoon fed because he had no choice.
No, he never. He
He
never.
was
He never. No, he
told.
never admitted that.
Yeah?
He never admitted that. He's not saying
Oh,
that.
really? Because he's
No,
saying
no, he
here
said
that
no. He's
that
saying he wants to get out of the Jewish ghetto. He wanted to broaden his horizons and get out of the narrowness of Jewish culture. That's what he means.
I
Okay.
thought he meant like he was a poor person.
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think he took it willingly to broaden his horizons, right? He actually took it in good faith and with good intent. He wanted to understand black people and be there for them. That's why he did it,
Yeah.
right? So it makes how they treated him even worse. So let's listen.
And I took the African American studies courses, and they were wholly unserious. They were basically bitching sessions. And you can sort of understand it because at that point, it was not rich kids, black kids going to these schools. They were taking kids out of the ghetto and bringing them into university,
I can sense a bit of anger there.
Yeah.
for which they were wholly unprepared and felt wholly unwelcome. So the classes were mostly bitching sessions, and they were very unhappy with the fact that I was in the class. I was the only, it would be a class of 40. I would be the only white person.
So basically, low status black people, not happy with this place in society in 60s America, okay, right? And there's one white person, is going to be their emotional punching bag and they're going to take it out on him. That's what's going on,
Yes.
right?
And I'll tell you, I'll speak candidly. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of. Every Tuesday and Thursday morning, I would break into a cold sweat.
You would do, because if you're outnumbered and everyone hates you, you're naturally going to break out in a cold sweat, right?
Whether to go to the class.
Yeah.
I was struggling between my determination to break out of my ghetto and the fact that I wasn't wanted. I knew I wasn't wanted, and maybe they had a point. It's
No,
like
no. This guy wasted his time.
Yes.
He absolutely wasted whatever energy is to go and be, like you say, emotional punching bag for
Yes.
people who disliked him. He gained nothing from that.
Yes.
and coming at that point in time. We also had the consciousness raising. I don't know if you know anything about that, but at the beginning of the women's movement, one of the innovations, what was called consciousness raising sessions,
That's man hate sessions, basically. That's what the conscious
Yes, it
creation
is.
is. Yes.
when women sat around and talked about all their complaints about men.
So
There
basically,
you go.
so that's a hate
Yeah.
movement. So men don't get to do that, right? Can you imagine? There should be no conscious rationing sessions. Any group where they get to form a group and make complaints about another group and bitch about them. Can you imagine there's a white consciousness raising movement where they got around together and bitch about black people? Can you imagine that? Because
Well, I can't because it wouldn't happen.
exactly,
You know.
exactly.
And it would be like a man forcing himself on a woman's consciousness raising.
And men should be able to do that. Fuck them. They've banned our own spaces. They shouldn't get their own spaces where they get to plot behind our backs and defame us, right?
Look, I mean, you know yourself, what was it? In the 70s,
Yes.
women went out of their way
Yeah.
to put female reporters in men's lockers rooms.
Yes.
So they do it on a political level.
Yes.
So this guy shouldn't be speaking like this.
Also, the reason why he uses the term woke, there's certain he's noticed certain aspects of the left, the so-called left, and the feminist. He's not fully aware of what he's noticed, but he's noticed something. He's noticed intersectional
Yeah.
feminism. He sees it as certain aspects of the left, right? He doesn't realise that it's feminism, and he thinks, oh, it's valid in the past, but it's gone too far. He's one of those old farts,
Yes.
right? Yes.
Yeah, I would say
session.
that.
It was
I'd say he's a second-wave feminist. That's my guess.
obviously only for women. And I knew I wasn't wanted, and I was very conflicted about it. So back then, the field was not serious, but it has clearly evolved into a very serious discipline, which produced.
Though it
Yeah, that's
hasn't.
horseshit. That is absolute horseshit.
Fucking, it's been hijacked by anti-white racists. They're not serious. They're not serious. Like,
Yeah.
what was that? What's that black movie? It was about this all-female elite bodyguard for an African nation, and it turns out they were actually
Oh yeah,
they're into slavery, and the movie whitewashed it, pun intended,
it
right?
did.
Yes, so it proves they didn't care about real history. They just wanted to create a positive false image of black women and that black nation, right? So it was propaganda, basically. So yeah, it's not a serious field.
Produces very high quality scholarship. And then you ask yourself, why was
There was actually, I can't remember. I did actually read a very good book on racism by this black author years ago, right? And it was very good because it actually demolished the concept of racism or the way that people see it, right? So it was basically demolished ideas that black people can't be racist and what racism actually is. Because racism is actually a pseudo scientific belief in race, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what actual racism is. So belief in race. So yeah, that's what actually racism is. A lot of people don't realize. They think it means they think it means hatred of racial groups and bigotry, and it quite often is. It is most of the time, even not all the time. But it actually means a pseudoscientific belief in race or characteristics of race that don't exist. Right. So yeah, most people were racist back in the day. Like they had like a really like a like that science. There was that science where like the shape of your skull meant things about
Yes,
you,
I know
right?
what you're talking about.
Like
I'm
like
trying to
like
remember the
basically
name of it. Yeah.
the different facial features of different races and different shapes of races' body parts meant something to these people. It's like real pseudoscience, but yeah, they're all racist. So
wasn't a center given to Barbara Fields? Why wasn't it given to an Adolph Reed? If you want young, fresh blood, why not give it to Torrey Reed or a large number of other people, some of whom you've had on your program? Why was it given to Ibram X. Kendi? He had no serious academic background. He went to Florida A&M, the HBCU. Then he went to Temple University and he studied with this lunatic named Molefe Asante. I don't know if you know that name. It was a yeah, you see, this is all old, this is all ancient history for you. There was a whole field called Afrocentrism.
Afrocentrism, that's a big red flag to me. So I
Yes.
don't believe in any sort of centrism. You've never heard me call myself a British centrism, right? Any sort of centric, like white centric, women centric, right? Okay, that's narcissism right there. If you think I
Yeah.
belong to this group, my group's the
And
most
a
important thing in the
bias.
world, it's narcissism. It's political narcissism. So basically, black people get to have political narcissism. Okay, how is this good for the mental health of black people that you validate this shit? Okay, it doesn't do them any fucking good, right?
Look at the smug look on her face.
Yeah.
70s and 80s. And one of the leading Afrocentrics was a fellow named Molefe Asante. And he got this program at Temple University, and Kendi got his degree there. It's complete lunacy. But, these universities, they don't want to get in the bad side of the African American community in Philadelphia.
They don't want to get on the bad side of African American women as well.
Yes.
They're the ones leading this
Agreed.
charge. Yes. The black feminists.
So they have this program. That's where he got his degree. Did he write anything of any significance? Okay, he wrote STEM from the beginning. It's a completely preposterous book, completely empty-headed. And I'm not trying to.
Oh my
Look,
God, he's really
I've been discriminated
clobbered.
against quite a lot in my adult life because my books don't get published by important publishers and blah, blah, blah. Though some have, but in general, no. But the fact of the matter is, the book was published by The Nation magazine. Their book adjunct called Nation Books. That's not considered a serious publisher. How did it win a National Book Award? It's completely illiterate. And then
Stop right here. What he's admitting here is this guy doesn't deserve where his accolades.
Yes.
You know.
Yes, and he's basically saying the publisher, the low-grade publisher that he's published from, is a sign that his books are no good. Basically, they're not serious books.
Exactly.
Out of nowhere, he gets appointed to run the center, and he's got tens of millions of dollars. And
By the way, she's going to pretend not to understand what he's saying, right?
Yes. Yes.
no accountability whatsoever. What does that tell you? Not about the administrative side, but I'm talking about the academic side. That a complete hustler and charlatan. If you look at his resume,
Okay, the complete charlatans and hustlers, quote unquote, get enabled by society all the time. Plenty of feminists are. Anita Sarkeesian, she actually got work from video game companies being their advisors.
Oh yeah.
Right? This stuff goes on all the fucking time. Like women's councils, women's groups, women's advisors, right? Like all this stuff happens all the fucking time, and he's just noticing it with this. Come on, it's a long-term pattern.
he says he's written 15 books. 15 books. You know what the 15 books are? He wrote one book and 14 spin-offs. How to be an anti-racist baby.
How to be an anti-racist baby. Fucking, they are lunatics. Yeah.
How to be an anti-racist doorknob. How to be an anti-racist scissor. Complete. And he calls these books. And now he's the author of 15 books.
Oh, by the way, you're thinking, he's not exaggerating. Those are the actual titles, aren't they?
Probably, yes. I wouldn't be surprised. He's done it as
Okay.
he, yeah.
And to me, the most revealing fact is two things. One, why did all these woke liberals give him the money? There were so many talented African American scholars of various age cohorts who they could have given the money to.
Because he probably had connections with feminists. That's why.
Number two, why was he never questioned about even his scholarship?
And the other thing is, if he's calling this out, why is he not calling feminism out? Because this sort of thing has been going along on the feminist movement for ages. So there's garbage academia that gets praised, that gets awards, that gets promoted, that gets taught in classes, right? He's just noticing it when it's the anti-white racists doing it, okay? But it's just the same pattern of behaviour from the feminists, and the feminists are actually more powerful and have more influence, right, than the anti-white racists. They're actually a much bigger problem, okay? But he doesn't notice it with
the
them.
answer is actually quite simple. Is men don't like to be, they don't like to be attacked by other men.
Yeah.
But they're willing to do it for women. Women attack men, men just take it. That's what's going on. That's why feminists always get a pass.
Yeah.
He has refused to debate anybody.
Like feminists actually do that. Feminists don't actually debate MRAs, right? Because they know they can't win. Like if you talk to a feminist in any space they control, they'll just ban you really quickly because they can't debate because they don't have any facts on their side, right? It's the same pattern of behaviour. What they do, they don't debate because they got a gatekeeper position. They control it. That's it. That's all they need.
He's refused to answer any of his critics. No accountability.
Because he stole money. That's why.
No academic accountability. No financial accountability. And he's wildly promoted by all the woke precincts.
See, what does he mean by woke? This is very imprecise language. What does he mean by woke? Right, it's a euphemism. So,
who publishes him? Jeffrey Goldberg. Jeffrey Goldberg, who also promoted Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Mm-hmm.
And
at the Atlantic.
At the Atlantic magazine.
He does not like this.
The Atlantic magazine. No, I don't want to get off track, but it's a very revealing fact that the most woke precincts, the Atlantic magazine, the New Yorker magazine, the New York Times, are also.
Oh, by the way,
could you finish your sentence, please?
Okay, go ahead.
The most fanatical promoters of the Ukraine war and.
Sorry. So
go ahead.
So it's basically.
I was just saying, like you mentioned, woke. Woke is such a vague term on purpose. I've never heard a definition ever given for it.
Yeah,
Ever.
it just basically means a bunch of liberal people I don't like. So he's basically saying all these
Yeah.
woke publications, New Yorker, The Atlantic, support the Ukraine war. Basically, that's what it's basically saying. Which is he's noticed something there. Right, but he's failed to name what they actually are. They're feminists. They're feminist pseudo left wing publications support the Ukraine war. Okay.
That sort of stuff. And yet they love people like Kendi. And it's a real question to ask.
Because they're not left wingers, they're not liberals, they're feminists, right? They don't stand for anything. They stand for power and the status quo. Feminism is actually the status quo. Supporting the Ukraine war is the status quo. Supporting Zionism is the status quo. Now, I'm going to say one thing, right? I've often said that feminism is actually the most successful hate movement to ever exist, right? Okay. The second most successful is Zionism, right? But there's a reason why I call it the second most successful hate movement to ever exist, because I think Zionism is going to fall eventually, and there's actually more people speaking out against Zionism than there are against feminism, even though feminism is worldwide and far more powerful than Zionism. Zionism is going to fall. There's too much consciousness against it. It's not going to last forever. Feminism looks like it will at this rate because people don't speak out against it. People don't even seem to be aware of it. Basically, they act like it doesn't fucking exist. They act like it's a hurricane or something. It's like some impersonal force. Yeah.
Why are these extremely conservative, and you can even call them right-wing woke people, they are so enamored of people like Kendi?
So it's interesting he calls them right-wing woke people, right? So he's sort of noticing something, but he's not framing it correctly. Basically, he's noticing a lot of these feminist types, even though he's not aware they're feminist types, he's actually noticing they've got a lot of regressive values. They're not progressive at all, right? He's noticed
Exactly.
that. Yes.
And they'll go on either side. Here, just a minute. People speak. Feminists are on both sides of the political spectrum.
Yes.
They control both sides.
Yes.
And like you say, I just want to back up your claims that they are for the status quo because feminists they push for what females want, women want, and what they want is the men who are winners. So and guys who are gaining material. So they're very warmongering.
Yes.
That's why they support Ukraine war. They want to be on the side of the men who achieve success at war and gaining wealth. That's what it is.
Yes, and also like Zionism is a breeder's ideology. Steal their land because all these settlers are tradcon families. They steal someone's home, they steal their land, and they move in with a big family. And they breed like rabbits, right? Okay, and they get subsidised and paid for it by the Zionist government. It's a tradcon ideology of breeders.
The answer is pretty straightforward. A, he's stupid, and they like stupid people. They like stupid people because it's easier to control them.
No, I think he's wrong. It's not because he's stupid, right? It's just that he agrees with them. So he's going to be their puppet.
He supports them.
Yes.
Kendi knows he's in over his depth. That's why he doesn't want to debate anybody.
It's not. He knows he doesn't have to, right? He doesn't gain power from it. He's actually being smart by not debating anyone, right? This is what he doesn't understand. Most people don't want to debate, right? They don't their ideas challenged. Okay, it makes them uncomfortable, right? And if you've got any status in the public sphere, okay, you don't gain from debates. So most people don't do it.
Exactly. That's why if you look at on YouTube, usually guys who really want to debate are smaller YouTubers who want to debate bigger YouTubers.
Yes.
Because it's a status game.
Yes.
It will be completely humiliating. I'm not here to sing your praises, but you have the foundation, the academic foundation.
I disagree. He is here to sing her praises. He's a man singing the praises of a woman.
No, so debating's nothing to do with academics, right? In my opinion.
Fine. You're not afraid to debate anybody. You like the challenge.
No, she wouldn't debate me, so you're bullshit.
You like the intellectual challenge. He doesn't want to debate because he knows he's way out of his depth. So they like him.
Also, he's part of a hate movement that spews hate, and nonsense and scapegoating and blame, right? So he's not going to want to debate, right? Okay.
Yeah, he'll be
Because he's
exposed.
Yes.
stupid. They like
And also, debate implies disagreement as well. They don't want to be disagreed. They said, no, you got to listen to us, Whitey. You got to self-flagellate and accept your guilt. That's what they want. They don't want anything
Yeah.
else. It's like the same with feminism. They don't want men debating. They want the male analysts to shut the fuck up and just listen to the abuse. That's it.
him because he's absolutely harmless, absolutely innocuous, doesn't threaten the system, doesn't threaten power, and he's easily manipulated because he knows that if
Excuse me. If he knows, how can he be manipulated?
Yes.
He's not being manipulated. He's a part of it.
Yes.
if he loses them, the show is over.
Well, that's true for a lot of people, though. That if they lose their contacts, their allies, their status is finished, right? That's what a lot of status is. It's that you have the right allies, you have the right contacts, you have the right supporters. That's where your status comes from. If you lose them, you're finished. That's politics as well,
Yeah.
right?
He wouldn't even be able to teach in a community college in the backwoods in Alabama. He's not a very bright guy.
He's very snobbish though as well. You can tell he's very status orientated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's totally enthralled to them. So for me, the question is always to my mind, and this was my belief when it came to people like Alan Dershowitz or Daniel Jonah Gohagen from another era. The issue is not the person. The issue is who created him and why they created him. Who created him and why? That to me is the real issue.
I don't think he was created. I think he was what he was, and they're using him.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into some of that. I do want to go back and just address a couple of things you said early on. And we don't have to stay on these. I just want to articulate that I have a difference of opinion with you about some of these small things, and then we
Stop
can.
right here. She's gaslighting right now.
Yes.
Difference of opinion. No, either what he said was true or not true.
Yes.
So
Oh,
she's
she's
gaslighting.
being she's going to be pedantic about it.
Move forward. I just want to be clear that I don't think that the issue is that he is insufficiently credentialized. I have a lot of respect for FAMU and the institutions that he went to. I don't think are an issue at all. I think that he is eminently qualified. And
If they're enabling him, those institutions are a problem, right? If you got nothing against him, say so. If you think he's a bad person, say so. If those institutions are enabling him, there's a problem with it, right? With him, right? Okay. The bullshit that he's spewing comes from those universities. They're the problem, right? You can't have it both ways. It's as simple as that.
in terms of his academic background, to teach, to be a professor anywhere, I would center my concerns really solely on the quality of the scholarship as opposed to his academic background per se.
No. The quality of his scholarship
No,
must come from his academic background, right? If his scholarship is so fucking shit, right? Why did he get a pass from his academic background, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I also feel, even though I was not ever an African American history major, nor do I think I took any AFAM classes when I was in college, I was a double major and didn't have any time for many electives.
So you knew it was bullshit as well then, right?
Yes.
And you knew there was no status involved for you either. That's why you wasn't interested.
I have been in dialogue often with my parents, especially my mom,
Yeah,
both of
just a
whom
minute.
went to.
Yeah.
What you were saying is basically this woman really did have the brains to go for other fields, so
Yeah.
she didn't need to use it as a crutch.
Oh, so she's bringing up her parents as well, which is very manipulative.
In HBCU.
She's being very emotional and about her experiences and her family and her feelings, blah blah blah. So it makes it harder to call a bullshit out.
Met at Howard and graduated from the same. And my mother talks often about how rich her historical education was in particular. And
Finkelstein can't say, yeah, your mother was an idiot and she was conned. You can't say that, can he? Right?
Yeah.
terms of the reading list. Now, she did say that because her father was a Black Panther, she had read most of the books before she got to college, but that the scholarship, what they
Stop
were
that right
asked to.
there. Her father was a Black Panther. In other words, he was a guy who looked like he was going places. That's
Well,
what it is.
maybe. That's hard to say, but probably.
uh,
I don't think the Black Panthers will go places. They're getting killed by the FBI and oppressed
No.
and locked up in prison. You know, SWAT teams were invented
Well,
to deal with Black Panthers.
it looked exciting
Right.
too, right?
Okay.
So,
No, but maybe she was just poor. She just clung on to any man she could get. And then I think we're assuming a lot of things here about their background. So
interrogate
it is possible, yeah.
yes.
whether it's Richard Wright or Frantz Fanon or W.E.B. Du Bois, what have you. I think that she would likely, and others
but
who
sorry, I just want to say, I think she was attracted to the women like hitch themselves to movements that, to say for self-importance, even
Right.
if the man wasn't important. You say, yeah, I was part of the Black Panther movement.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
have gone through an African American history course at some of these institutions might push back on your characterization of them as empty. Now, this could be a temporal issue. She was going to college in the early 80s. Kendi.
All right, so he's talking about different time frames. She was going to college in the early 80s. Finkelstein was going in the 60s, and you were probably going in the early 2000s, even not before. You could be in your 30s, so you're a fucking pup compared to him, right? So you're just bringing up this bullshit for no reason.
Is I think a couple years older than I am. I think he's born in 1982. So he was in college in a very different time than either you or my mother. But
So why are you bringing up objections then if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about? Right? You're basically admitting you don't know what's going on. You don't know what these courses were like for these different time periods. So just move on.
I do feel like I have to.
I'm glad you look
to say something in defense of what I think is the integrity of African American history as
Well, so basically, sorry,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Oh, I said she's bringing up a defense for something that she has no experience over.
Yeah, so I'm not quite. She goes, I'm not
So
quite
she
sure.
doesn't care
She says herself, not quite sure. Different time periods. Yeah, she went in the 60s. He went in the 80s. I went in the whatever. Right, but I feel I've got to defend its integrity. Okay, all right. Don't know what the fuck. She doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Black woman, black studies. I've got to defend it. Right, and there's a reason. I'm going to explain the reason why she's defending it. By the way, later on.
it's taught broadly.
Yeah, I'm glad you said those things.
Oh, by the way, stop right here, Mr. Pink.
Yeah.
I just would say, if I wasn't doing this with you and I was doing my own,
Yeah.
I'd be starting it here.
Yes.
Just because I feel like her gaslighting
Yes.
is the most important part of
Yes.
what's going on in here.
Yes, but no, I want to show the normal conversation, right? To bring the gaslighting into
Yeah,
context, right?
exactly.
I want to show that she's having a normal conversation and her behaviour's changing suddenly. I think it's important to see that. Right.
Yes.
Because it enables me to clarify on the program rather than have to face the backlash. Yeah. So on the first question, I was talking about credentialing in terms of how you normally get a job in academia. Now, they look at for better or for worse, and I said I was penalized by it. They look at who the publisher was. If you're an academic, and God be with you, you're not.
Okay, he's in a long-winded way. He's saying this. This person hasn't got the credentials to get the status that he's actually getting, right? So it's very suspicious.
Yes.
But he's just saying it in a very long-winded way now.
If you're an academic and you say I published a book, what is the first question another academic asks? The very first question. Who published it? That's the only question they'll ask. They won't ask you the content. They won't ask you the thesis. They won't ask you anything. Who's publishing it? There is a real pecking order.
And they're checking your status, right? Social proof.
Yes.
In academia. And secondly, it will follow you from the day you graduate to your grave. The day you graduate to your grave, where did you get your degree? I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you know very well, when you're a lawyer, the first question you say, where'd you go to law school?
This opens up for deflections. He's using an analogy, an example.
Yeah.
Sure, but it's also, I mean,
I'm
of
not
course,
saying
it's also true that there are so many very successful lawyers that
I'm
did
not.
not go to
I'm,
T14 schools and
I'm
who,
not.
She's deflecting.
I'm not
Yes, she is.
denying that. I'm just saying it was a very odd thing
Oh, by the
that
way, just a lawyer is different from a public, someone who's trying to get their book published.
Yeah, but not
Totally
no, but in
different.
this context, it's not, because there's a hierarchy of lawyers and there's a hierarchy of scholars, right? Lawyers, the serious lawyers, go to better law schools, right? Okay, people take more seriously a lawyer who went to a proper university, right, than someone who just went to a local community college, okay,
But
or
you know something?
paralegal. Like in theory,
Yeah,
you could become a paralegal and you can actually teach yourself law, right? They're taken less seriously than someone who went to university and studied it. It's just a fact.
that's true.
Yeah,
At the same time, I believe it's easier for a lawyer to climb the ladder through his or her skills, whereas I think, like he says, when it comes to being a writer,
yeah,
who you published follows from your birth to your grave. I
yeah.
think it's more so for writers. You
Probably.
really have to luck out.
Yeah.
he was wildly catapulted
so
into
let's,
the top position. Now, let me just get to that second
okay.
comment you made. It was the African American history had a very venerable pedigree in the HBCUs, because you have to remember back then, people like Du Bois couldn't teach at a white university. He went to Atlanta. That's where he did most of his solid scholarship before he went to work for the Crisis, as the editor. So in that grouping, yes, there was very solid. Look, all of them really top-notch scholars, people like E. Franklin Frazier. Then a bewilderingly talented person, Ralph Bunche. Bunche got a very bad rep in the 60s because he became very conservative. But Bunche, Frazier, they all were in the orbit of W.E.B. Du Bois. What I was talking about was, because of the student movement in the 60s and the Black Power movement in particular, these departments were created out of thin air. There was no foundation. I'm talking about white universities. There was no foundation laid. So for the first few years, they were basically, as I said, they were a bone that was thrown in order to calm down the insurrection. But then,
Norm, that just seems like an argument. I really don't want to get sidelined on this, so I ultimately,
I don't want to get
She
sidelined
does.
on it.
She's trying to. Yeah,
I don't want to get
Go ahead.
sidelined on it, but I'm going to sideline.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't really care. But I think there was,
I don't really care. Okay, so why are you bringing it up then? Okay, I'm gonna tell you what I think her motive is. Okay, okay. So feminists, it's the same thing as feminists. Feminists want to go to men to emotionally torment them and feel socially superior as well. They want to go to they want to shit all over them, no matter what they do. Right? It's not good enough. Right? It's not good enough. You're a misogynist. You can't help but be a misogynist. You've got male privilege. Right? You're just innately a misogynist. Blah blah blah. Whatever nonsense they say. Anti-white racists want to do the same thing as well. They want to believe in their version of white supremacy is innate white racism that's natural to white people, right? And there's nothing you
Yes.
can do to erase the sin, so they can like berate you for it no matter what. And this is why she supports this academia and universities, because she, on some level, she feels she benefits from it. Okay, even if it's just to feel socially superior and have something to hold over white people. Okay, especially white
Exactly.
men.
It's
Yeah.
the boot stamping on the face perpetually, as
Yeah.
they say.
you're talking about inventing an entirely new discipline out of whole cloth. Me, I would extend some grace to people and having some years where they invented
Yeah,
discipline.
irrelevant. He's talking about now. He's talking about now, you stupid bitch. He's talking about now. He's talking about a charlatans and con artists in the fucking now. Right? Okay? Unless you're saying African studies and black academia hasn't changed since then. So if so, then you're admitting it's still shit. Okay?
Discipline out of whole cloth.
I never did
So
that.
I don't quite understand the utility
I'm pretending not to understand. That's what you mean.
in an environment when a prospective president of the United States has already, by executive fiat, ended the African American Studies program.
Good.
It's not done. If he did that, he recognizes it's useless.
Yes, it's shit, basically. But he's talking about Trump, probably.
At a university in Florida, going out of one's way to undermine the legitimacy of that field of study. That's all.
Right, you know what? I don't give a
No.
fuck.
He didn't undermine anything.
Yes. He stopped funding it. But no, legitimacy,
didn't
no,
he
that's
just
what legitimacy
recognized
says. No, in this context, this is actually what legitimacy means. It means being funded, therefore it has status. That's what legitimacy, that's what she actually
Yeah.
means when she says it's legitimate, right? And I just want to say something. Men's studies get suppressed, it gets ignored, it doesn't get funded. Like men's groups and community campuses get shut down. You're not even allowed to have men's groups, right? The feminists actually shut it down, right? So I don't give zero fucks about this fucking black academia. I give zero shits about it, right? Because first of all, it's not really black academia. Real black academia will talk about child support and black single mothers abusing black men and driving their own black men to suicide or death and early death, right? That's what real black academia would do, right? Okay, but it's feminist garbage and feminist trash, so it's useless shit. So I'm glad it got defunded, right? Where's the funding for men's studies? It's nowhere near. It doesn't fucking exist. Doesn't exist. So I've got no sympathy. Fuck you. Right, sorry.
All I'm saying. So, I don't quite understand the relevance of it, but if
Why are you derailing then, you stupid bitch? I don't understand the relevance of it. Just let him fucking speak. You fucking cunt.
if your personal experience in your African American studies class was not rigorous, then I accept that. I just wanted to put out there that many other people feel differently about their experience.
Oh, it's also many other
No,
people
no,
feel
no,
differently.
no.
So it's feelings,
Right.
right? Some people feel that the moon is made out of cheese. Other people's feelings don't fucking matter, right? Okay. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, she's acting like it's a matter of opinion
Yes.
when it's a simple fact. Yes
Well,
or
no,
no.
it's not even. She's bringing it up to derail and be irrelevant, right? She doesn't go, "Oh yeah, some people feel this way about the Palestinians, and therefore Zionism is valid." No, fuck you.
They're obvious.
Like when she disagrees with them, she doesn't care about their feelings, right? She's bringing up she can't quite commit to defending this, right? But she brings up, "Oh, these people feel this way," to derail and distract him. That's what she's doing.
Was
It's a very feminine way of arguing, actually. I've noticed like women do this a lot. They interject with irrelevant nonsense to confuse you and invalidate you. And that's what she's doing right here. So therefore, she's being hostile to him.
a miscommunication.
Okay.
What I said was, it's
This is not a miscommunication on his. This is why he's like, men just cannot deal with the facts. This isn't a miscommunication. She, as you say, is gaslighting him and derailing.
Yes.
Men just don't want to deal with this.
Yes.
They don't want to admit what's going on.
Yeah. Oh, they want to deal with it in the sense that they put up with it, but they don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Yes.
started out as a makeshift major, or it wasn't major at that point, it was called African American Studies. And I said it evolved over time into a very serious discipline. And I
And
said,
he did say that.
No, it
Okay.
didn't.
He did say that he evolved in time over serious discipline. He did say that. He already said that. Right? So, he implied it. He did say that already. Right? He implied.
Yeah.
He basically said it was trash in the past, but he didn't say it was trash now. So she's jumping down his throat for no reason.
said very high quality, at least of equal quality to any other discipline, has been produced by African American studies or African American.
So let's get into the contrast between that and what Ibram X. Kendi has been talking about, and the kind of lack of depth in his scholarship that you talk about in your book, in a lengthy chapter in your book. So for people who are not so familiar with his scholarship, with his book, I think he's most known for this idea of anti-racism. And he writes things like the following. He says, quote, "The very heartbeat of racism is denial. When people..."
That's circular logic, by the way. Right? So the very heartbeat of racism is denial. So if someone's accusing you of being racist when you're not and you deny it, that's racism according to that logic. So you can't win.
Exactly.
Right? As Anita Sarkeesian once said, denial of misogyny is proof of misogyny.
People say they're not racist.
Yes.
They're sharing the words that white supremacists use. Jim Crow segregationists said they weren't racist. Lynchers argued they weren't racist. The problem was the people they lynched. Slave owners said the same thing.
You see how they jump. You see, it's the same as feminism, right? So they link everything together. So they link catcalling, gang rape, tampon tax, inappropriate jokes, domestic violence, femicide, staring at women. They're linking trivial things with serious things, right? It's doing the same thing here. So denial of racism, then they just jump to another sequitur about Jim Crow laws and lynching. So they're trying to smear you by association as a white person, right? It's equivalent if I was talking to a black person and then I suddenly brought up gangbangers and stuff like that to smear them, right?
But to be anti-racist is to say that chokehold was racist and that policy was impoverished, that community was racist. When I supported it, I was being racist, but I'm...
You fucking idiot. When you supported it, I was being racist. You fucking idiot. Most people... Who the fuck now was alive and old enough to support Jim Crow laws? Who? You'd have to be like fucking 70 or 80. Jesus fucking Christ. Like, Jesus. Not overturned in the fucking 60s. Like, even... Was FinkelStein even old enough to support them? No. Jesus Christ. Fucking hell. Sorry, this see how stupid that is though. Fucking hell. It's just to smear white people's racist.
I'm going to change it and be different. So he changes the formulation from saying we should all aspire to not be racist to aspiring to be anti-racist.
Well, no, fuck you. Like, for example, you're not fighting for men's rights, right? Okay, and you don't even, black people who do not fight for men's rights have proven they don't give a fuck about their own race. Black people, they don't give a fuck about their own people, right? Black people don't give a fuck about them, okay, right? Because they can't solve their issues with this intersectional anti-white racism, fake black activism bullshit, right? It's always going to be a dead end. So they've proven that they don't give a fuck about themselves, right? So they can't turn around to me and demand that I care about them when they don't give a fuck about themselves. They could go fuck themselves, as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, if you want to be serious, if the black community wants to be serious, they've got to do something about black single motherhood. Period. Right? They're serious, and they're never going to do it because they're manginas and white knights. Every single one of them. They're either feminists or they're white knights.
There are guys who actually left these movements who had finally admitted.
Yes.
I've seen them say, it's I used to be part of that, and I just got bashed for being a man.
Yes.
So,
And first I want to ask, do you have a...
I know, so what's the life expectancy of black women compared to white men in the USA? Black women outlive white men in the USA.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Like fundamental disagreement with that formulation? Or is it simply that there was not much beyond that initial sort of insight, if you want to call it that?
I have never met a person who, when he or she was saying, I am not a racist, who didn't mean by that statement that they are anti-racist.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that when you say you're not a racist, that you were being neutral, in the real world, I've never seen anything like that. When you're saying...
He's pointing out the absurdity of it, yes. So what you do is, it's basically a passive-aggressive accusation. It says it's not good enough, you're not anti-racist enough, you're an enabler, you're a supporter of it, you're just lying, right? That's what it is. What it is, all this academia is just a passive-aggressive attack against white people, designed to undermine their self-esteem and disparage them, just like what feminism is. Okay, like I said, this is a it's a part of intersectional feminism. It's the same tactics at play.
Saying I'm not racist, you're effectively saying I'm anti-racist. So that kind of distinction struck me as completely trivial.
Well,
it's trivial. It's not trivial. It's a tripwire. It's an artificial tripwire to trip the people up so they can accuse them of being racist.
Let me play this thought experiment with you, though. Mm-hmm. I could sit here and say, I'm not anti-Semitic. I personally, I don't even know very many Jewish people. I'm from Colorado. I've never even met a Jewish person in my life, right? So how could you possibly call me an anti-Semite?
Right.
But change my
Well, stop right
circumstances a
here.
Yeah.
Know what she's saying here. In other words, if you're a white person who's never met a black person, you're automatically racist.
Yeah.
That's the default setting. That's what
And
she's trying to say.
also, she's bringing up irrelevant nonsense, right? You're racist if you've got racist beliefs. Full stop. Right? It's never whether you met a Jew or not. Oh, I don't dislike Jews personally because I've never met them. It's whether you're anti-Semitic or not. It's as simple as that.
little. Ask me if I want my child to marry a Jewish person.
Yeah, but basically, I'm going to break this down, right? So with men, it's like I want all the hot Jewish women, but keep the Jewish men away from my women. The mate cutting instinct. Right.
Ask me if I think the president of the United States should have should be a Christian, things like that. Then my behavior, my voting pattern, the way I advise my children could start to paint a different picture. And I do think that the argument that
So she's talking. So she's talking about racists then, basically. It's an irrelevant question.
Kendi is making to moot it fairly is that whatever you think about the claim, I'm not a racist, that in the world we live in, we should be aspiring for something more than kind of passive non-racism. But
No. That's entitlement, right? Okay.
Yeah.
That's entitlement. Like I said, like for example, if there's black men out there who are pro-male and they're not feminists, I'm willing to be their allies, and I'm willing to fight their battles if they're willing to fight mine. That's it. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For an approach to racism that actively is trying to push back against it, to be affirmatively anti-racist, to be
That's entitlement, affirmatively anti-race. That just means give me stuff and self-flagellate and grovel in guilt. That's all it means.
affirmatively voting for or advocating for or pushing for or rhetorically demanding policies and interpersonal relationships that don't just ignore racism and not contribute to racism, but undo racism.
Yeah, but their definition of racism is so vague and nebulous, you can never undo it. They don't want a victory condition, right? They want to be able to just like guilt and attack white people forever. It's the same as feminism, basically. There's no victory condition for feminists. It's just going to exist forever as a hate movement. Like Hitler, he wasn't going to disband the Nazi party. He wasn't going to go, yep, the Jews are all dead, right? We can disband. No, he was going to have his 1,000-year Reich. Yeah? It's the same with them.
If a person
Actually, you know what Hitler would have done? He would have looked for new Jews to persecute. What I think would have happened...
Do
you know what I think would have happened? I think they would have Germans accusing each other of being Jews and killing each other. That's what I think it would have happened.
That's what I said. Like these hate movements are perpetual.
Yes.
Like I say, if England, just for example, were in the British Isles, if they booted out everyone except for English guys, next thing you know, they'd be bashing the Scottish or the Irish.
Yes.
There's always a new person that the hate has to continue.
Yes.
person claims, to use your example, if a person claims to be not anti-Semitic, but on the other hand, that person doesn't want Jews to live in his or her neighborhood, then I think we have a simple word that describes that phenomenon. It's called being a hypocrite. I don't see any addition to knowledge or political.
He can't just tell her this is nonsense. Stop wasting my time.
Yes.
Policy by making the kind of distinction that you describe. I grew up with many people who said that they were not racist. Actually, most of them were admittedly racist. I grew up in a lower middle class Jewish neighborhood. It was very racist. That was one of the points where I wholly disagreed with Cornel West. Dr. West has edited 2 books on Black-Jewish relations.
He's actually contradicted himself there. Actually, I just spotted it. Okay. He actually says some people who claim to be racist were actually racist. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
2 full volumes. And he also, in his 2 books, Race Matters and Democracy Matters, in each of those books, he has a large chapter on Black-Jewish relations. So he has a copious corpus on this issue of Blacks and Jews. And
So what were Black Jewish relations like back in the day? They were going, no, 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 you're at the bottom of the totem pole. No, 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 you are. That's what it probably was like.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah.
with all due regard to what, in my opinion, is a genuinely first-rank mind, I think very few people, myself included, can fully appreciate what a dazzling mind he is. Very impressive. I think it totally mystified the reality of growing up Jewish in the United States and Jewish values. In any event, so I don't think it adds anything substantive.
So I got to say one thing for the Jews, right? There's a lot of criticism you can make about them, like circumcision and stuff like that, right? But the stereotype, like Jews being pushy parents, right? They actually did that for good reason. They were making sure their children had status so they could survive, right?
Exactly. It's a
Yes.
survival instinct for sure.
Yes, and it's actually they're, in a lot of ways they're actually better parents than a lot of other groups like white people and black people, to be honest, from what I can see. So, yeah,
Or beyond triviality.
and you got to say that the Jews they do have a lot of fucking intellectuals as well, coming from them. So,
Oh,
yeah.
To making the claim that people espouse one belief, but in practice act on another belief.
But isn't that something a little different than that, though? So, for example, there are people who frequently make the argument that, okay, let's say somebody has never affirmatively done anything racist in their lives, has friends of all different hues, doesn't care who their child marries or dates or whatever.
So, okay, so a normal person, in other words, who's not racist.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
somehow this is not be good enough. Let's hear what she has to say.
Etc. But happens to like Donald Trump, say they're a fiscal conservative, and is indifferent to some of the statements and policies that he advocated for.
Oh, just stop right here. Look, everyone has to deal with this in politics.
Yes.
If you choose somebody, they're always going to have, what do you call it? They're always going to have views that you disagree with them.
Yeah. Well,
Right? That's just the way it is.
if so, this woman is going to support man-hating politics, right? Men's issues never get addressed. Like Trump said that women were the superior sex, right? And what policies of Trump's were actually racist? I don't know.
And
What did Trump go? Let's round up all the black people and put them in a concentration camp. I don't think he did. Right?
The wall. When he talked about putting the wall up. Right?
Yeah, that's to keep Mexican
That's
immigrants out, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
and there
And is that necessarily racist? Like, I'm sorry. I'm gonna play devil as advocate here.
It's actually
Okay.
anti-male.
It's not
because
it's
it's
not
basically
necessarily
saying-
even. It probably is anti-male, but no. Okay. Okay, in Mexico, right? And I know a lot of this is America's fault. In Mexico, there's cartels that skin people alive.
Oh, yeah.
There's a higher murder rate than the Vietnam War. There's thousands and tens of thousands of people dying. There's police officers dying. There's criminal gangs killing people, chopping each other up. Right? Okay. It's a fucking war zone in Mexico. Okay. Right? I'm sorry to
Yeah.
say, there's good reasons to want a fucking wall. Right? There's this insanity. Right? There's this insanity. Right? There are anti-immigrant racists. There are racists who just don't want any immigrants whatsoever. Right? But it's absolutely lunacy just to go open the fucking borders and let everyone in.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. There's
Oh, by the
problems in
way,
Mexico.
you don't have to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to go that severe actually with
Yes.
the cartels
Yes.
because recently they started dumping immigrants
Yes.
in New York City,
Yes.
and all these so-called progressive left people,
Yeah.
liberals,
Yes.
did not like it
Yes.
any more than the right wingers down in Mexico. You
Yes.
know, down by the.
And I'm
US
going
border.
to say I'm against mass immigration. I'm against it, right? Okay, it doesn't
Same
mean I'm
here.
racist. I
Yeah.
don't give a fuck about race. It does economic damage. It drives wages down.
Does.
I've actually seen smug left wingers go, if you're threatened by an immigrant, you should be better educated and get a better job. They're only going after low skilled jobs. So you're basically saying if you're a dumb low skilled worker, you deserve what you get. Basically, you deserve to have your wages driven down. Well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Yeah, and like,
I got
and
mine.
yes,
You get yours.
and also
You know?
all the like South, all these Arab countries and all these like Middle Eastern countries, they close their fucking borders as well, right? It's not even nothing to do with, and a lot of these people are closing borders but the borders against are the same ethnic group, right? It's just they're from a lower socio-economic class and they could cause chaos in the economy if they come in, right? It's like
Exactly.
you can't have a fucking like. It's another issue that you can't have a fucking conversation about because like, there are lunatic leftists out there. I hate to sound like a right winger. Like if you talk about certain issues, they'll just jump down your fucking throat and call you a bigot.
Yeah.
Okay, Jesus
And
Christ.
also, I'd like to say it's anti-male to the degree that if you took all the immigrant males out, if there
Yes,
was a bunch of immigrant women, they
yes,
wouldn't call them immigrants. They'd
yes.
say, "Oh, there's these women who need help,"
Refugees. They'll call them
and
refugees. Yes,
yeah, you
yeah,
call them refugees. Exactly.
yes, yeah.
For with their vote for because of the fiscal reasons is
I'm actually genuinely curious. What racist policies did Trump put through? Right. I know he had a racist. He was pandering to racists. We all know that to get voted in.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, the Democrats pander to man-hating feminists who are just as bad, right? Yeah.
advancing, arguably, racist policies.
Arguably. Bring examples then. Bring examples. I want to hear them.
And ideas. Many people looked at Donald Trump that way in 2016, and
This is a digression. This spiel about Trump, by the way.
as we were having all of these fights about whether it was economic anxiety or racism, said, well, okay, you might not be racist yourself, but you are at best indifferent to.
Well, the thing is, you've admitted your privilege. You're an upper middle class bitch, right? You shouldn't be talking about economic anxiety because if people of other ethnic groups were taking away your status and putting you in poverty, you'd probably become the biggest racist in the world. You'd be ranting like a lunatic right
Exactly.
winger. Yes.
Racism in your choice to vote for Donald Trump. I do think
Okay, look, no. Okay, you are a first world privileged bitch. Okay, you live off the back of the third world economically, just by being part of the system, right? You're not going, I'm privileged, I got all this money, I'm gonna give this money back and donate it to people in the third world and live in poverty, right? You don't do that, do
That's
you?
a very good point.
Yeah, okay. So you're just as racist as them. If you think there's systematic racism and there's an innate white racism, you're part of a white racist system and you're benefiting from it and you're profiting from it, right? According to your own logic. Okay.
an anti-racist formulation takes into account that whatever's in your heart and soul, if you are not prioritizing race in a certain way, and if you are not acting on that.
So basically, you got to be racist to not be racist. You got to support black people and give them loads of attention, or otherwise you're a racist. That's what she basically means.
Yeah.
It's equivalent of basically you got to support feminism or you're a misogynist. It's the same as that.
Priority in any way, then you are in fact not being anti-racist. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you don't care. Maybe that's okay. And we shouldn't ask that of people. And maybe we shouldn't ask people to prioritize somebody else's racial interest over their economic interest. But
what do you even mean by racial interest anyway? Right? There shouldn't be racial. The thing is, the point is to get rid of fucking racial interest. It's to get rid of race. It's to get rid of discrimination and make sure society treats everyone fairly and decently and everyone has a nice standard of living. That's what society should basically aim for, right? Okay? Get rid of injustice.
whatever your moral feelings are about it, I think that there is a distinction there between somebody acting in a way that is anti-racist and somebody who is just neutral. No?
Right, you're neutral, aren't you? No, you're not neutral. You're actively contributing to racism, right? By being part of the capitalist system. So you got to give up your wealth, donate it to poor, indigenous, third world, brown skinned people, right?
It's a sexist, pure and simple.
Yeah.
You know.
First of all, let's try to back up and
He's confused. full of bullshit
Oh yeah,
spiel.
look at he was just the look on his face.
Yeah.
Get to the heart of the issue. I think the heart of the issue, and here is maybe where we disagree, is I don't think this conversation gets anywhere, goes anywhere,
So it's nonsense, in other words. Okay.
has any substance.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay, that's what I'm going to get to. Because the essence of Kendi's book, stamped from the beginning, is he goes around branding everybody either a racist or an anti-racist. That's the be-all and the end-all of the book. So Richard Wright, the author, he's a racist. Phyllis Wheatley, the African-American poet in the Revolutionary era, she's a racist.
On what basis does he say these people are racists?
Well,
They're not anti-racist because Phyllis Wheatley wasn't fighting enough.
because in his view, can you just hold that question for one moment? I want to just go through it. So Phyllis Wheatley is a racist. Richard Wright is a racist. Frederick Douglass is the worst racist. You're laughing, but that's the book. This is the book that won the National Book Award. The abolitionists, Charles Sumner, William Lloyd Garrison, Wendell Phillips, they're all racist. No, that's a fact. I'm not making this up. You see, now you're laughing, but this is what won the National Book Award. Everybody.
So she wasn't aware. So she wasn't aware of what he was talking about, and she was just interjecting for no good reason. In other words, right?
Exactly.
Because she doesn't care. She doesn't care if some anti-white racist lunatic gets a book award for spewing nonsense. Because at the end of the day, they want their own side to get free, easy access to privilege and prestige. It's the same with the feminism, right? A feminist is not going to care that some woman is going to write a bullshit book full of nonsense and get easy status and privilege and prestige because they want women to get that, right? It's the same principle at play.
Is a racist, except Zora Neale Hurston, Eldridge Cleaver, Angela Davis, and tentatively Kendi himself. He's too modest. No, that's the book. So the problem to begin with is, where do these labels get us? You just fling capriciously, promiscuously.
Oh, by the way, notice she's laughing to downscore his point.
Yes.
Oh, she's playing it off. It's that she's just chuckling along with him.
Yes.
Right.
This label, it doesn't enlighten. It doesn't contribute.
It's not just that. It's a smear. It's an attack. It's an aggressive attack on the reputation of others done that, and also to shit on white people, right?
To knowledge.
But enlighten us, Norm, because I don't even know I can't tell how I feel about any of that. I mean, I suspect how I'm going to feel about it, but I need to know more about what his justification is for
Well, read the book then, you bitch. If you haven't read it. Jesus Christ, he's admitting ignorance. Shut up then.
labeling Frederick Douglass and Phyllis Wheatley and everybody else under the sun a racist. So what is the argument that he's making?
Okay. First of all, at the risk of sounding coy, I don't believe he makes an argument. But I'll try. No, I don't. But I'll try to convey to you what he states. He says there are two kinds of racists. One is the one we all know, a segregationist who believes that groups of people are unequal in their various aptitudes and abilities and wants to separate out the races. But there's a segregationist. And then there's a second group. And the second group is what he calls assimilationists. Those who believe that white culture is superior, or those who want to become part of white culture, or those who believe that Black people suffer from any kind of, we'll just use the word, any kind of defects. Anybody who doesn't think, no, literally, I know it sounds like I'm being hyperbolic, but I think I devoted 120 pages of my book to documenting it. Anybody who believes there is any imperfection in Black people, any imperfection in Black people is a racist. If you
But what is, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be pedantic, but what does that mean? Because every person has imperfections, but what does it mean to have imperfections as a racial group?
okay,
What does it mean to have imperfections as women, unless you're just saying like a chromosome itself?
Oh, notice you brought
I
in
mean, many
women
a
there.
woman has argued that the Y chromosome is an imperfection in and of itself.
Okay,
Wow.
all right, let's listen to that again. This is why she's a feminist. She's a pink pillar.
Yeah, let's do it.
She revealed.
from any kind of imperfection in Black people is a racist. If you
But what is, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be pedantic, but what does that mean? Because every person has imperfections, but what does it mean to have imperfections as a racial group?
okay,
What does it mean to have imperfections as women, unless you're just saying like a chromosome itself? I mean, many a woman has argued that the Y chromosome is an imperfection in and of itself.
She agrees with it. You can tell by the way she's laughing, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? She wouldn't laugh in the same way. Say, oh, many white people say Black people are inferior. She wouldn't laugh in the same way. She's a pink pill feminist, I think. Because do you remember that loser woman who's friends with us, right? And she was a real.
Yes,
I hope
I
she
do.
hears this. She probably isn't, but she was a real whiny bitch. She discovered us through our channels, like she befriended us. She whined about her personal relationship problems, right? Okay. And I got sick of her, to be honest. I didn't like her. There's something fake about her, right? She actually revealed herself to be a pink pill feminist, right? Like,
Yes.
so she pretended to be on our side and have sympathy for her issues, and then in a hangout, which she took down, she said she was a pink pill feminist. Yeah, do you remember that? So
Exactly.
it's more than likely that this woman's a pink pill feminist as well. They can act friendly, be sympathetic to men, right? Get along with men, but they're pink pill feminists who hate
Place
men.
sympathy, yeah.
Yes.
But what are we really talking about here? Because I can see a way that anytime
Well,
you are
Sophia, I
making
just want to point out that this woman is as vile as any racist will ever be. She
Yes.
is a vile person.
Yes.
Period.
There's an underlying tone of hostility with a lot of female interactions with men. A lot of men don't pick up on it, right? So there's like women I've known and women I know. They'll do really passive aggressive, annoying things, and then doing it on purpose. Like they'll ask you stupid things, like they'll ask you really pedantic things like for what's for dinner. And they'll ask you over and over again. For example, it's being done on purpose. Okay, so they're annoying you on purpose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
any kind of categorical statement about a racial group like that, given the tenuous nature of what it even means to have a race, then then maybe you could have a technical argument that is
okay,
by default a kind of stereotyping and bigotry.
okay. You know, those are absolutely fair questions. And I want to begin by saying those are serious, substantive questions. So now I'm going to try to address them, but bear in mind, and this is to me the crucial fact, Kendi never addresses those questions. What does it mean to say, or what is a generalization, a valid generalization? What is a stereotype? He never addresses that.
So a stereotype just means a stereotype is a word of it. The word stereotype in of itself has like a negative connotation associated with it, right? Okay, so when someone says you're stereotyping, that's a negative connotation. Okay.
Exactly.
So, okay, that's what a stereotype is. So they'll accuse you of being stereotyped when you generalize and it's accurate, and they don't like it. They'll just accuse you of stereotyping.
Now, as you fully are aware, there's a huge body of scholarship which tries to wrestle with these questions.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of weeks ago, I did an interview with Dr. Cornel West.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions I asked him was, Kendi, Ibram X. Kendi says that any statement you make, let's say crime is a problem in the Black community, or educational achievement is a problem in the Black community. And Cornel West makes very harsh statements, Dr. West makes very harsh statements in race matters about the status and situation of the Black community. I might add, if anybody has cracked the spine of any of W.E.B. Du Bois's works, he also focuses, sometimes quite harshly, on deficiencies in the Black community.
So basically, they're allowed to generalize. They're allowed to say what they want, but you can't. So there's no principle involved. Basically, it's just an artificial tripwire to falsely accuse you of being a racist. So they're being aggressive from the start in their social interactions. This is why they're invalid to me, right? It's based on a position of bad faith and hostility, right? It's pretty shit being a black male, right, in America, in my opinion. They've got a lot of anger and they've got a lot of resentment. I can see where it comes from, but I'm not going to be some black person's emotional punching bag because of it. Yeah.
So the first question I put to Dr. Cornel West, I quoted Kendi, who says any generalization about Black people is racist, blah, 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 blah. And then I quoted all the statements that I culled from Cornel West's books, in which he says, as I said, quite harsh things about the state of the Black community, about crime, treatment of women. He's very tough on treatment of women.
So he's a feminist scumbag, mangina, low-life piece of shit then. Okay. So he's attacking. He's actually attacking black men when he says that. So it's like you can't. So they're not going to criticize black single mothers. You can never do that. They freak out. But they're allowed to like smear black men and accuse them of mistreating black women. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Being deadbeats and all that business.
Yeah. But it's not even just being dead. But they accuse them of beating and murdering black women. Let's be real.
Oh yeah.
And raping them. So yeah, it's worse than that.
Okay. Homophobia and 1,000 other things. Yeah. And I asked Dr. West, do you agree with Kendi that all of these statements of yours are racist? And then he went into a long excursus on what seems to be obvious, I think, that the social sciences are impossible unless you generalize. The whole essence of the social sciences is generalizing.
You got to generalize. You talk about issues on a macro level. Oh, this is a fucking lunatic. The one up here. You see where my mouse cursor is?
Oh yeah, this guy. Yeah.
I've seen him on videos before. He's a real fucking scumfuck. And shame on you for FinkelStein for actually platforming this low life. I think less of you for doing that. Actually, this guy is a piece of male feminist mangina shit. Like he's a fucking tapeworm, as far as I'm concerned.
In Race Matters, you make many critical generalizations about black people. For example, there is an incredible disregard for human, especially black, life and property in much of Black America. The most basic issue now facing Black America is the nihilistic threat to its very existence. Moreover, Black suspicion of whites, Latinos, Jews, and Asians runs deep. You continue. There is pervasive patriarchy in a home.
Yeah, he believes in patriarchy. You're a fucking nut job.
Yeah.
I can't say what I've had enough of people use that word. I consider it the same as I feel like a black person in the 70s being called a nigger over and over again. I just feel like that. I'm sick of the word fucking patriarchy, and it's being said by men.
Yeah.
By men. What fuck? Look at this old fucking fuck. Patriarchy. You fucking idiot. Black women rule the fucking family unit. They kick black men away and enslave them with child support. You fucking idiot! Fucking
homophobia in Black American life.
Sorry for getting angry, but these fuckers won me up.
The ugly authoritarian practices in Black America range from sexual harassment to indescribable violence against women.
What a fucking lowlife. That's what the fucking white nationalists do, you fucking idiot. They accuse black people of harassing white women. And you're accusing them of harassing women. You fucking moron. Jesus, what a fucking scumbag.
Again?
This fucking clown will accuse us of being racist, right? And you'll use the same fucking narratives as white nationalists against black men. What a fucking hypocrite. The fucking cheek of it.
Presently, Black communities are in shambles. Black families are in decline.
Yeah, what if black families are in shambles? Why are black families in shambles? Why are black families in shambles? Black single mothers, black
Yeah.
single mothers, black single mothers, black single mothers.
And black men and women are in conflict and sometimes combat. There are shattered families.
No, there's not. Black men and women are not in conflict. Black women are in combat with black men who are not fighting back. Right? Black men are just taking
Yeah,
abuse lying
exactly.
down. Okay. And black fucking quislings, black fucking sellouts, black fucking traitors to black men like you are selling out your fellow black man. Right? So all this misplaced anger that black people have against whites, they should look at themselves. Right? It's because it's the same with white people. White people have got misplaced anger against black people. The racists do.
Yeah.
Right? It's misplaced. No. Look at your own community and look at your own women. That's where your anger should be directed at. Right? They're the cause of a lot of the shit.
Including too many irresponsible, unemployed fathers.
There you
Irresponsible,
go. There you go.
unemployed
See?
fathers. And so, first of all, why are the black women opening their fucking legs for them? Right? And if they're unemployed by their own choice. Right? Okay? This guy, this piece of fucking shit, is an academic and he's privileged and he's shitting on unemployed black men. Go fuck yourself. I know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're unemployed, they should not be allowed to breed. Right? Is that eugenics then? Okay.
Do you agree with Kendi that these generalizations of yours should be classified as racist?
Yeah, no, I think I want to begin first just with context to get at what brother.
All right, we don't need to listen to the rest of this. I think he's been
No.
made a twat out of. Basically, he's been exposed as a hypocrite. This
Yeah.
is the evil. This is the filth of a male feminist, black or white. Okay. If black men want a real movement, they have to kick the male feminists out and the feminist females out. They won't kick the females out, so they'll have no male feminists in, right? Okay. So yeah. So it's the same. It's a black community, white community, Asian community, whatever fucking community. Don't lash out at other communities. Look at your own women and hold them to account. If you can't do that, you're just misplacing your anger and aggression, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. This piece of shit. I've seen him before in a few other videos. He's a real scumbag. Yeah. So do you want to watch it? Do you want to watch it, or should we end it here?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because I haven't watched. I only watched about first half hour.
Yeah.
I think we really made our point.
Yes.
You know.
But there's a few. There's a comments here.
Yeah. So did I do it? Here. Go ahead.
There's a.
Let me get my reading glasses on from my old man eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you find that one you were mentioning before? The guy actually called her out.
Yes. There's a comment that called her out. It might be I can't. Maybe it's is it under newest? Not sure.
Well, you can always pause and then take a quick look around.
Yeah. No, I can't pause. I can't pause the recording. I can't pause the recording. We got.
Oh yeah, that's right.
All right. Okay. So this is.
There was a guy up there who said FinkelStein gave this woman too much credit. Way up top.
Oh right. Where did you see it?
Yeah, go down now.
I left a few comments.
It's just a simple. It's just a simple sentence, so you should be able to see it soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
Norman gave this woman too much credit.
Yeah, there's a really good comment and basically said her name Bad Faith is apt, basically.
Yeah.
And she's basically accused her of wasting the guy's time and being pedantic over nothing, which is absolutely true. Yeah.
It's absolutely true.
But this guy's anyone who just attacks male hostility attacking black men is a piece of shit. Piece of fucking shit. Okay. Single mothers.
He's an old guy. He's an old guy too.
Yeah.
He knows better. He saw women in the black community booting their men out. And calling them crap and garbage.
Yes. Black women are single mothers by choice every single time. 99% of the time. Right? Okay, 99% of the time, that's the family set up with choice, and it's a proven fact that single mothers can't raise their kids well. Period.
Yeah.
So it damages their kids for life. Okay, and they don't call them out; they call out the black men. Fucking scum. If I was a black man, I'd slap this cunt. If I was a black man, right?
Yeah.
I'll just give it. But I wouldn't do it as a white person because it's It's up for you. It's up for you, black men, to step up and to take responsibility for losers like this. What a fucking loser. Yeah, the thing is, there's plenty of white male feminist pieces of shit as well. Unfortunately, this is
Yeah.
part of the male condition. This male hostility, subhumanity, right? This is This is the male subhuman, right? The male feminist in
Exactly.
action.
Crabs in the bucket.
Yes, the fucking male subhuman. No,
To be honest, if you challenged Finkelstein,
Yeah.
he would fight back too.
Yeah,
I'm
he'll
sorry,
he'll
but that's
deflect. Yes, he'll deflect. He'll deflect. Yeah, he's an enabler. He's an enabler. That's why he uses the term woke. Yeah, he doesn't like some of the ridiculousness, some of the results of this, but he refuses to understand. It's willful ignorance, as far as I'm
yeah,
concerned.
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm done for now. Are you?
I am too.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think the hangout turned out great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a
Mr.
long one as
Fink.
well.
Glad we
Nearly
had-
2 hours. All right. Over and out.